Hello, hello, I'm the official name raider. My job is to look through the first page of Google, review the nicknames provided by the internet, and then give my recommendations at the end. Today we're looking at the fire starter of Johto, Cyndaquil, Quilava, and Typhlosion. I actually hate Redneck, but I have to give credit where credit's due, that does make sense. So, if you want it, have at it. I guess I'll also acknowledge Hufflepuff. Just because I've seen Hufflepuff referenced in other Pokemon too. Does it fit Typhlosion? Not in my opinion. Typhlosion's technically a rat, and Hufflepuff is a badger, so there's biological differences there. But I also feel like Typhlosion's kind of very hard to notice that, so I can forgive it. Do I think it's a good nickname for it? No. Is it a good nickname in general? Yeah. I just don't think it fits Typhlosion. But if you don't care and you want to do it, do it. Spitfire will throw on as generic fire type nickname you could apply to anyone. Only recommendation is maybe don't put it on the Spitfire Pokemon of Magmar and you're fine. Also, I'm going to go down here and acknowledge Havoc as well. That's a name you could throw on just about anyone. It works Bayonetta style, Binding of Isaac style, where it's just a simple word. But as a nickname or a name, it feels, I don't know, more impactful and just sounds good, and there you go. Ferruption is sadly something I could kind of picture them using later down the line. Do I like it? No. But I want to give it points for originality? Sure. Captain Magma is one I'm anticipating on seeing a bunch when we eventually get to Camerupt, but just know that that's a thing that people are going to say. Does it fit Typhlosion? Again, not my personal opinion, but if you want to use it, it's there for you. Backburner works. Backburner is one of those where it's going to fit Typhlosion better than anybody else because its back is fire, its fire is back. So, yeah, if you like that, Typhlosion's basically a real good choice for it. I guess we'll acknowledge this one since we technically saw Furore in the Chikorita episode. So yeah, if you want to go ahead and do the goddesses from Zelda and apply them to the starters, I think it's a good idea. I meant to say that at the end of the Chikorita episode, but I forgot because sometimes I'll look at a single page for 20 minutes and then forget everything else I've read. So I meant to acknowledge that, but I didn't, and yeah. I'm also going to go ahead and acknowledge Vesuvius. I've also seen Krakatoa. Do I care for them as nicknames? Not even a little bit. I see them typically more associated again with Camerupt, but technically speaking, you could put it on any fire type you want to. It works, yes. I just don't think they're interesting names. I just find them boring. That's just me personally. Mars is another throwaway nickname that we see all the time. I understand why you would associate it with Typhlosion because red fire, blah blah blah. It's a fine nickname, I have no problem with it, just know that it's a very common one in general. Okay, Fireball actually has me a little bit curious. I don't hate that nickname, but it makes me question who's literally the most defensive fire type Pokemon out there, and then take whoever that is and probably throw that for the nickname. My first instinct goes to Heatran because he's a steel type, but I don't know if he's considered the most offensive wall fire type or not. But that's just an idea there if you really like the name Firewall and want to do a pun. Scorch, another generic fire type nickname we've seen multiple times. It's getting kind of hard to re-acknowledge some of these and try and say something different, but yeah, there you go. It's fine. Do I care? Not really. Backfire works on the same vein as Backburner. I think it's a perfect option for Typhlosion. It's not the best name, but I feel like you're not going to... It's very limited on who it's going to fit, and Typhlosion is basically one of the top choices on Pokemon that it adequately describes. I remember seeing Firebolt in the past. It's a good nickname, but I do think it is better fit for a fire and flying type. My personal choice for that one would be closer to Talonflame, honestly. But if you don't care about that, you could put it on Typhlosion, I guess. Hotspot's not a bad name either. I feel like it fits with the Cyndaquil Typhlosion line because of the spots on it back that shoot flames. So I think it works. As far as how good of a nickname it is, it's okay, but at least this one fits Typhlosion indefinitely. Okay, so Hurry is the one I personally use. I did a Firebred randomizer, and that was when I started looking up nicknames for Typhlosion. And then I saw this, and I was like, that's perfect. I legitimately like the Lost Silver creepypasta, and I think it's good, and it was kind of like at a time when creepypastas weren't incredibly terrible. I mean, they always were, but that one was at least a interesting enough one. But I love the idea of just naming it Hurry. It holds significance while also being ambiguous, I guess. I'm trying to think of a way to say it. I don't know. Like, if I saw it, it would make me want to ask why, and then when I get the answer, it would make me appreciate it that much more. I like it as just the reference to the creepypasta, and it's going to be one that I think is going to be hard to top, but yeah, if I saw someone else do something like that, I would probably think it's cool. Sulfur is actually one I have written down as a nickname that I would like to give to someone, but I'm not entirely sure who. Like, I remember thinking something about Executor because the smell of eggs. So that's one where if I can find a good nickname, if I can find a good Pokemon that I can nickname Sulfur, I would do it. But again, this is just outshined by Hurry, so not bad, but I'm not going to trade it. I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge Matchstick and Bonfire. I don't think I've ever seen Matchstick before, but again, that can fall on generic fire-type nickname you could throw on anyone. And Bonfire. Bonfire, I don't know. If they make a flaming tree Pokemon, you've got yourself a nickname. But other words, you're going to be hard-pressed finding one where that's going to be a good nickname. Wildfire is another generic fire-type nickname. We see this one all the time, be it Charizard, Arcanine, whatever. So it works, but you're going to see it all the time. Now, Arcade has literally nothing to do with Typhlosion at all. But I don't necessarily hate the concept of that as a nickname. And you know what? Arcade would actually not be a bad one. Maybe for Porygon. That would probably be the first thing I could think of where that would fit. Okay, time to go over my developing tumor. Pyro, boring. Bonfire, we've already talked about. Flare, Flora, no, terrible. Vulcan, I've seen this a bunch of times. There's honestly a bunch of times where I've seen, like, gods. And they're not bad ideas for nicknames. I just don't talk about them because they just feel like typically the first thing people think of. Like, that is the go-to. If you look at any Pokemon nickname, I bet you money, you're probably going to have a hard time finding one that's not named after some sort of god, be it Roman, Egyptian, or Japanese, or whatever have you. Like, it's just there. And honestly, I think Vulcan is kind of a boring name for a fire god to begin with, but there you go. Like, it's cool if you like the idea of the mythology, and I don't hate mythology, for Pokemon, that just doesn't interest me. Fireworks is not bad. I don't think there's going to be a Pokemon that might fit a literal firework character. So I guess you could just put that onto anyone. Erupta is terrible, and Firelord is terrible. So, majority bad, but like a couple in there that it's like, okay, we can talk about Wasabi, I guess. Do I care? Not overly, but it works. It's just one that you could throw onto anybody. Okay, I'm curious about Zuko. Like, I understand what a Zuko is. I get that, Avatar. But I'm curious who really put that there is mostly it. Who else? Because I feel like, as weird as it sounds, that's not a thing that's super common. What's super common is Katara, but Zuko a little bit less so that's why I just think that's a little bit interesting. Sanic, I guess I understand in the sense of like, oh, it's got little pointies on its back, sure. But why would you spell it Sanic? I don't think I've ever seen Meltdown either before, so there's another fire-type nickname. I'm trying to think on who that would best suit. My mind says anyone that can learn Explosion, which then jumps to Mag Cargo, because I believe he can? But it also doesn't have to, like maybe a Wheezing could work. Regardless, Meltdown's not a terrible name. And then we've seen Burnout before, there's another generic fire-type nickname, and that's about all it's worth acknowledging on that one. Okay, we've reached the bottom. It's better than Chikorita in the sense that not everybody's trying to talk about food, so at least we've got an improvement there. A lot of generic fire-type nicknames you could apply to anyone, and quite a few that are Typhlosion exclusive. I can't find my mouse, I found it, so now we can check the spreadsheet. Nothing on here that interests me, so we're just gonna close that out. Okay, so we've gone over the one I personally use as Hurry, and I think that one's the best. Other ones, like, again, a lot were just generic fire-type nicknames, and not too much to say, you could apply them to anyone. But the ones that I have written down, which I think work exclusively for Typhlosion, is going to be Backburner, Backfire, and Hotspot. Those three, like, fit Typhlosion perfectly because of its design. And then when we didn't go over, which I have written down apparently, is Mr. Burns, which is corny, but I can deal with that. So there's your other nickname suggestion. So that's it for today for this. Please provide your own ideas and suggestions in the comments below. Give a thumbs up to the ones that are good, and we will continue the saga.